everybody, I'm Kelly Hogan, and I am very excited to have a friend of mine, Jane Crummett. She is a friend. She has been in my groups throughout the years. She has amazing t-shirts. I love it. And she is a coach with Dr. Annette Bosworth. Welcome, Jane Crummett. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited too.
So today, I was watching a video with Dr. Dr. Annette Bosworth. I love her. I know you do too. The video was great, and she was talking about a woman who has been doing one of the wildest things that I have ever heard a carnivore do. And we're going to get to that. It was you. Spoiler, it's you.
It was me.
First, let's start with how did you find carnivore? Why carnivore? And how have your results been?
I weighed 240 pounds, probably the beginning of COVID. As everyone was going home from work in 2020, I got a job as a first responder at a very large senior community. And so I was exhausted every time I came home. And I live with my sister, and we both decided that this is ridiculous. We have to do something. So we went keto. And we did okay. Ate all the keto garbage, all the junk food, did all that stuff, went down that rabbit hole. I love watching YouTube videos and learning. And, I stumbled across, hey, this lady's, she lives pretty close to where I live. And it was one of your videos. I was just fascinated. I told my sister, I said, hey, let's try this. So we did. On July 22nd, 2020 was our day. And I lost probably most of the weight, probably 60 to 70 pounds within the first 6 months. And then I stalled. I just didn't care. I felt so much better. I was walking and everything was great. I stalled about 175. Then over the course of this last year, I joined, I think it was in your group for like 3 months in a row. And what really impacted me was that carnivore at the beginning for me was great, but it got to the point where calories mattered.
Yes.
And your TDEE was like, bingo, my eyes were really open. And I saw that I'm a volume eater and I'm an overeater. And and that's where we are today. But that's not the reason why I started doing sardines. I mean, if you want to know about that, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, I kind of wanted to see what brought you up to the sardine thing. So you
Yeah,
had some pretty great results, though,
I
just doing
did.
meat, even
Just meat.
intuitively. So I think
Yeah.
that's the perfect place for people to start. Is
Yes. And
cutting
it
out carbs.
stopped working though. And that's what you really focus on in your groups is like, I wish I could be an intuitive eater now, but I can't.
Yeah,
So,
I would say
and
that's where a lot of people end up when they come to me. It's like, hey, I got all of these great results just intuitively doing carnivore. That was great. And now I'm just stuck. So they need a little something.
yeah, and you do all the hard work. You've done all the research. You've interviewed all these people, and what I really appreciate about it is that I don't have to watch a 2 hour long video to get to the punchline. This is what you need to do. That one video you did about the 10 or 15 things if you're not doing them, you should be doing them. It's brilliant, brilliant.
Thanks, Jane.
So
All right. Thanks.
yeah, and one of the major reasons I started carnivore was I had really bad plantar fasciitis.
Okay.
Plus, I was 240 pounds. I wanted to lose weight, but I had pain and I had gone to a podiatrist. They had done cortisone shots and I was on anti-inflammatories. The next course of action that the doctor I was seeing wanted to do was his surgery that they go, and I was like, I don't want to have surgery on my foot. So it's like, well, what if I lose some weight, and within those 6 months, I think all the inflammation and the weight loss, my plantar fasciitis totally went away.
That's amazing.
And it wasn't until this last year, 3 years later, it came back. And I think it came back. I had gained 20 pounds back. So I was back, I was like 195 pounds, 196 pounds.
And can I just ask real quickly, was that from any carb creep? Were you eating carbs?
No,
No.
I have been carnivore, strict carnivore. The only carbs I eat are whatever's in eggs,
Right.
and I was mostly just beef only for the longest time. And I don't eat dairy at all because it's inflammatory to my arthritis. So,
Yes. So I think it's important for people to hear you weren't binging on dairy, you weren't cheating on the weekends, you weren't having carbs, and yet you
mm-mm.
gained back 20 pounds and your plantar fasciitis pain came back.
And I think it's because I'm a volume eater. And I just said, well, I kind of went back maybe in denial, saying, oh, I can be an intuitive eater and blah,
Right.
blah, and I can't. And I know that now. And that's the reality I'm facing now is that if I don't want to be in pain, if I don't want to, have that extra 20 pounds on me, then I need to pay attention to the calories. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and the science behind inflammation, that's one of the things Dr. Boz really impressed on me was that if you, like anyone who's getting ready for any kind of surgical procedure, as minor or as major, she wants you to be in a really great state of ketosis to get all the inflammation, get your inflammation as low as possible before you go into a surgical or procedure. So I was like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I don't know if you've talked to her or you've watched any of her videos, but she does the thumbprint on your shin.
Yes, I've done it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And my thumbprint lasted for
Mm.
like over 30 seconds. And I was like,
So
ooh,
let's tell people they press on the shin bone
yeah,
hard.
is for like 30 seconds.
Yes.
So she wants you to push it so you can see, when you put pressure on your fingernail, you can see the white,
Yes.
it just was there and I was like, crap,
Yeah.
so I knew what worked for me was I'm not a good faster. I don't like doing water fasting.
No.
I'm not happy and miserable and it's not sustainable.
Same.
And so I said, you know what? I could eat sardines. I decided May 28th, I was going to just start. And initially, I was just going to do it for a month. And I lost a lot of fluid. I mean, the first 2 weeks, I lost 12 pounds,
Oh.
and it was all fluid. Yeah, I know it was. And pain was still there. I walk like 10 miles a shift at work. And I think that's part of the problem of why it came back, plus the weight gain and the inflammation. So I was, in tears. I come home from work and just in tears. Every time I stood up from getting out of bed, it would hurt so bad. And I was like, crap, I don't want to quit my job.
Yeah.
So the first 30 days, pain still bad, bad, bad. But I lost weight. I felt better. My energy was up, high ketones, low blood sugar. So I decided to do 60 days. Pain was resolving a little bit. I've never had children. So if my 10 was getting out of bed and standing on my foot and I was crying, that
Oh.
was my 10.
Yes.
After 60 days, my pain was about a 3.
Okay, now let's make sure everybody understands this is 60 days of eating nothing but canned sardines.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so your pain reduced that much in
Yeah.
60 days. That's great.
Yeah. I had to drive to Arizona starting on the 19th of August. I drove straight and I turned around and came back 5,000 miles in 11 days. And I think even though sitting was the worst thing possible, not walking was a good thing because
Yeah.
I think whatever, if there's an injury in my plantar fascia, I think that not walking really helped it because I'm in zero pain.
So maybe a
And
combination of all of the omega-3s, the
yeah,
sardines, lowering inflammation, and then just some rest.
yeah. And, up until then, I never rest. I mean, I have 3 dogs. I'm walking them. I'm out in my backyard walking. On the weekends, I walk 10 miles a shift and I walk, I try to get a minimum of 10,000 steps in a day.
Wow.
Anyway, and because, it's good for you and I like it. My dogs like it. I think it's really important to note that how stress and impact, the whole, I had some family issues happen and my stress, that's why I had to drive back to Arizona. And my stress, my blood pressure was high, my ketones went down, my blood sugar went up, and I was eating 4 cans of sardines a day with 8 tablespoons of MCT oil. And I use lemon juice to help brighten the flavor. So, it was nothing that I was doing, but it was just the stress, the cortisol going up. And I didn't gain any weight or anything, but my numbers definitely showed, that cortisol impacts your blood sugar and ketone production. So,
Oh, I think it's highly underestimated how much a stress can do. I know a lady who is a total carnivore, strict, and has been strict longer than I have. She runs a Facebook group. Her name is Dana. And Dana underwent some extreme stress as a total carnivore. And several years into her journey, when she was at perfect goal weight, she gained 40 pounds. She said, I didn't go off plan a single time. She was just incredibly stressed out during that time.
I really pay attention to my stress. I work on sleep hygiene because I know sleep hygiene is like one of, especially if I'm 62. So, I'm
We're
not
good.
getting younger. I want the best life that I can have. I struggle because I work overnights on Fridays and Saturdays, but I'm pretty good at shifting right back over to being a day person on Sundays. When I have my red light and I wear my glasses over my glasses. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
I
people ask me about my sunglasses. I'm like, these
yeah,
aren't sunglasses, they're blue blockers.
supposed to mimic the night or the sunset. So
Nice.
your, melatonin will increase and your
Yes.
cortisol come down.
And I wear a night mask at night, and I also mouth tape. I know. Hottie.
I do mouth tape. I do. And you influenced me, and
Oh,
it really helps because I don't know that I'm a snorer, but I have slack jaw.
oh, it helped my sleep tremendously. So, Jane Crummett, I've done the math, and this is day 98 for you. Day 98 of eating only sardines. And I think the reason you started to also tell about the Arizona trip, because I watched your interview with Dr. Boz or her talk about you, was you had brisket maybe 2 meals in this
Yeah.
98 days. Is that it?
When in Texas, you have to eat brisket.
Fair enough, sister. I agree. I ate brisket in Texas. I had no regrets either. Other
No.
than 2 meals of brisket, you have had nothing but sardines since May 28th. You have used some lemon juice on them. And I want to ask you about MCT oil.
Okay, it's sports research organic CHC10 MCT oil.
Is it
And
from coconut oil? Is that?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's the CHC10. Those are the medium chain triglycerides that go as you consume them, they go into your stomach and they're immediately absorbed into your portal vein that goes straight to your liver and produces ketones. And the only reason I did that is because I don't like extra virgin olive oil. And the sardines that come in olive oil, I just don't like them. And sometimes I'll just eat sardines and I have frozen beef fat,
Yes.
from hamburger from my dogs, and
Yeah.
I keep it frozen and I, make it really thin, and I'll weigh out 2 ounces of that,
Okay.
or which is the equivalent. So, but it's mostly been MCT oil. I quit taking vitamin D supplements when I started this because I know that sardines are very high in vitamin D, and my omega-3 index was 149.
Listen, girl, I've got some of this written down. Your vitamin D at the lowest recorded was 18.
Yeah, when
Then
I
you
moved here
started
from
taking
Seattle. Yeah.
some vitamin D supplements, and then it elevated, but never close to what it is now. Then you stopped the supplements, started this sardine fast, and now your vitamin D without the supplement is 149. That is salutations, sis. That is amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
And your omega-3 ratio was 9.7%. That is as a carnivore. I want people to understand that is not eating a standard American diet. We're talking carnivore with 3 to 4 years under your belt when you were 9.7% omega-3 ratio, which is, by the way, good. Anything
Yeah.
over 8, Dr. Boz says, is protective. People who do have heart issues are known to have a much higher survival rate at 8% or above. So you were almost at 10%, but you didn't stop there. No, you didn't. Now she's up to 22% omega-3 ratio, which is, Dr. Boz asked other doctors, have you ever even heard of that? And some of them said it's very rare, but they had heard of it. That's awesome.
Yeah. And as I get older, for me, my brain health is probably the number one thing. I definitely don't want to be 240 pounds again. But, everything I read and watch about how, whether it's fruit or ultra processed food, how, it's just so detrimental to your brain health. I mean, to every part of your body, every single cell in your body. And
Right.
I work at a senior living community, and I see people that are just a few years older than me, and they are so sick and so decrepit, and you know, it breaks my heart, first of all, and second of all, it's a reminder that's not what I want to be as I age. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Having a backup fuel source, not just glucose, but our brain can fuel itself with glucose, which, by the way, our body can make whether we eat it or not, and
right.
it does. But having a backup fuel source of ketones is really important. And I've been told that when people are so insulin resistant, that dementia and Alzheimer's kicks in where their brain, the hippocampus, will not upregulate glucose anymore due to the insulin resistance, that the hippocampus will still utilize ketones.
It
And so
will.
the brain can still be fueled. I checked my ketones this week for the first time in many months. I did a 5 month, very high fat experiment. I took Dr. Boz's continuously keto class as well. Loved it. And I started checking my ketones every day. I was keeping my fat at 80% every day. I was utilizing some of her tools. I was doing my Dr. Boz ratio every single morning. I had a great experience. I don't need to do that at this stage in order to lose weight and feel good, but I know how, baby. I know how. And I walked some other people through it too. And when I checked my ketones this week after doing very high protein carnivore, which is what I've been doing recently, about 60% to 65% calories from fat. So that for me equates to about 200 grams of protein per day. I checked my ketones the next morning, zero point 0.3. That's low. Now, for me, I felt quite fine. I'm fine. It's not like I'm gaining weight. I'm feeling that's fine for me. It's working. But I decided to do a fat fast yesterday. I should also point out, I've done a few now of the 3 day sardine fasts. My ketones always skyrocket. My glucose comes down. I usually lose weight. I feel like a superwoman on day 3 and day 4. Amazing. But this time I did a 1 day fat fast in which I ate nothing but fat. This morning, I checked my ketones 2.0. 1 day. That's 1 day.
Well, you know what that just goes to show is you're metabolically flexible.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Not that I want to go back to eating any kind of carbs, because I have no desire,
Me neither.
And I just, that if I could just like eat high protein, because I love meat,
Right.
I love fat too, but
Yes.
that's my ultimate goal. And will I ever reach it? Because you started at such a young age
Yes.
I don't know, but that's okay. I'll still hold that as a goal. And
Absolutely. And in the meantime, my gosh, tell people how much weight you've lost in this 98 days.
I've lost 35 pounds. I don't care if I lose any more weight. I really don't. I don't want to be in pain.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, there was a lot of criticisms, and I don't really read comments and all, but I just want to address this is that for me, the only way I'm going to know what works for me is if I experiment on myself. I'm not some wackadoodle who, I'm just going to eat sardines for the rest of my life. I had a purpose, I had a goal, and weight loss was not part of it. I wanted to get inflammation down, and I wanted to get my pain in control because I didn't want to have to quit my job.
Yes.
And it's only a part-time job, and I love it. And so, I think people need to be open to how do things work? Well, you have to try it out for yourself. You have to experiment on yourself. N=1 is a real thing, and I love it. And I watch all these YouTube videos. Some of the things I said, maybe I'll try that, or maybe I'll try this. And so for me, I know that the only way I could get in a lower inflammation state was to do sardines, and it was sustainable. I told Dr. Boz, my superpower is I can eat the same thing over and over and over again. I don't get bored with it,
Me too.
and
Me too.
I think food variability is one of the reasons why people kept, they were like going, "Oh, that's so gross. Oh, that's so weird." But it doesn't bother me. My sister's one of them. She can't eat the same thing over and over again. She's like, "I don't know how you can do that." It's like, well, because it just is, so.
That's my husband too. He can't, if he goes to a restaurant and loves a dish so much he raves, the next time we go back, he won't order it. And I'm like, I thought you loved that. He'll say, yeah, I've already had it. I'm like, what in the world? I eat burger patties all day, every day. And it
Yeah.
doesn't faze me at all. Okay, I've got a few questions for you. I tried to think of
Okay.
questions that I think other people will also be wondering. All right. One of the top questions and concerns that I have heard when I do sardine challenges is, Joe Rogan ate a bunch of sardines and then ended up with some symptoms and had arsenic poisoning. Well, I don't think anyone that I have ever met, including Joe Rogan, has eaten as many sardines as you, which I've heard you say most days was 4 cans. Well, that was your typical
Mhm.
average. 4 cans of sardines per day. This is day 98. You had testing done at around the 85-day mark.
It
Around
was like, yeah, it was actually like 75 and we didn't get the
okay.
results back until 85, something like that. Yeah.
So after 75 days of sardines, are you now concerned about your arsenic levels? Why not?
No, because they're in the normal range.
She had them tested, y'all. She ate nothing but sardines for 75 days. Her arsenic levels completely normal. Also, people are terrified of heavy metals in sardines. I've heard Judy Cho, Dr. Boz, many well-known nutritionists and doctors say the smaller the fish, the less heavy metals there are, and wild caught is far better. All sardines are wild caught. How were your heavy metal levels, Jane Crummett?
They were normal. You look at the nutritional content of sardines, not just the minerals and the vitamins in them, but the actual how much of the volume that you consume at one time, and how I want to try to mimic it in eating other forms of protein so I can kind of slowly, gradually transition into eating other things.
I heard Dr. Boz's suggestion of when you do decide to transition out of this, which you're thinking will probably be the end of September, right?
Yeah.
To add back one food that you sort of trust yourself with. So, like in my world, that's a burger patty. Like I know
Yeah,
how to
me too.
track it. I know it makes me feel good. I know it's sort of portion controlled too, like a sardine, unlike brisket, where you might get a 5 pound brisket. Like I could, let's go. But a burger patty, like I know how many, I can put it in the app. I know that it doesn't bother my stomach. So she was saying that maybe you could do one additional food for a couple of weeks. And then if
Yeah.
you're ready to add something else, I thought that was a good plan.
Yeah, because yeah, that's the only concern I have is you in your groups you talk a lot about volume addiction,
Yes,
and it's real.
it is.
People, and so that's now what I'm working on. I'm working on That's why I'm doing, and that's another reason why I've extended this at least until the end of September, is because in order for me to make a change permanent, it's going to take longer than a month,
Yeah.
2 months, 3 months. And it may be, I don't know. I can't tell you how long I'm going to go, but to teach my brain that I don't have to eat 2 pounds of meat at one time, that I can be satisfied with one burger patty, or, a 6 ounce steak, or, whatever. Because in my head, it's like, well, I can always eat more. And that's that
Always.
addiction. It's the food addiction. That's what it is.
Yes.
So
Do you already know? I can look it up real quickly. Do you know the macros and calories per day of 4 cans of sardines with 2 tablespoons of fat?
they're the packed in water, and it's either Beach Cliff or Chicken of the Sea brand that I've been
Right?
eating. They're a dollar a can.
Cheap. So if I do 4 cans of my King Oscar sardines with either olive oil or 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of fat of your choice per can of sardines is what Dr. Boz recommends. 2 tablespoons of fat for every can of sardines. So if anybody thinks, she's losing weight because she's only eating, say, 900 calories, you're definitely getting closer to 1,500.
It comes out to about 1,530 or 20 calories a day.
Okay.
And according to the TDEE,
Yes.
it's within that range, that my calories were in that range. It was like
Awesome.
between 1,550 and 1,650 or something like that for
Fantastic.
my goal weight. So, and I was really mindful about that, because I don't want to come across as I'm starving myself,
Right.
because I am not. And at the same time, I have no desire to binge on sardines.
Yes.
4 cans. Sometimes I'll do 5 cans. Sometimes I'll do 3 cans, depending on how hungry I am. It's been the same two brands. Sometimes I'll do the Wild Planet in water, but it's economical to just buy
Yeah.
the dollar cans at Walmart. And that's where I buy them,
Yes.
the beach cliff and the chicken of the sea and the MCT oil. And like I said, sometimes I do have the beef tallow drippings that I save. No food goes wasted at my house.
Yeah. Yeah. And if anybody here does not want to use MCT oil,
Yeah, they can use
so many other fats to choose, just 2 tablespoons fat of your choice.
yes.
Yeah.
And I didn't like olive oil. I did I'll use olive oil every now and then. This is just what I'm doing and
Yeah. One more thing. I know we have deemed that your arsenic levels are fine, but something else I do want to point out is that if anybody is concerned that they're getting arsenic poisoning, and that was me too. I thought, gosh, I'm eating so many sardines. I wonder if I'm having arsenic poisoning. People need to be aware that will cause symptoms almost immediately. And the symptoms would be white lines on your nails,
yeah,
belly pain, nausea, coughing, swollen red skin. Like you're going to feel like you have the flu and death. And you have felt wonderful through this. So
I have.
if I had really looked into it, I wouldn't have been like, oh, what are your results, Jane? What are the results of this arsenic test? I probably would have been like, if you had arsenic poisoning, you would know. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And there's my doctor wouldn't order those labs, so I paid for well, Dr. Boz paid for them, but I'm going to pay for them myself again in the next 2 months or so.
it's great.
And there's Own Your Labs does it. There's a couple other labs that are cheap. I mean, relatively inexpensive, but it's worth it because then you're in control. If you don't test, you don't know.
That's right. Test,
So
don't guess. That's what my friend Danny Conway says.
that's
Test,
all right.
don't
I
guess.
agree with her. Absolutely. And so, I guess one of the big things I really want you to emphasize is that, this is an extreme way of eating, but because my goals were pain, I don't want to take anti-inflammatories. I don't want to go back to the podiatrist. Surgery is not an option. If I do eat sardines for 4 months, 4 or 5 months, I mean, how is that extreme versus going to a doctor and paying copays and having drugs,
Yeah.
injected into you and
Or people
potential
who have
surgery?
part of their stomach removed.
Yeah,
People go through all kinds, take shots every single month to lose weight.
yeah.
You're just eating fish.
So yeah, and that to me, the extremists are the ones who want a pill for everything.
Yeah.
And I found a pill that, I mean, getting my inflammation down was like just so important to me.
Mhm.
And I ate sardines and I don't have arsenic poisoning or lead poisoning or mercury poisoning. And I've discovered that my volume addiction is real along the way and that I need to be in groups that like you have, your groups are so important and I learned so much and that I know that I'm not alone
Right.
and that there's a lot of women, mostly women, because I don't know whether men talk about this stuff very much, but eating disorders are real and I'm 62 and I'm finally going, wow, and I learned this in this course of this since May 28th, what a disordered eating pattern I have had that I thought that I had to fill my belly and I still couldn't feel full, 2 pounds of meat and I still was not full. So I think I'm leptin resistant as well.
Right.
But about day 45, I don't know, sometime in the middle, I had a can of sardines and I just thought to myself, I'm not hungry. I'm not full,
Yeah.
but I don't want to eat anymore.
Mhm.
And that was a big aha moment for me that, wow, I can just eat, a little tin of fish and some fat with it. And it was enough to satisfy me. And I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything.
Yeah. I gained some of that same insight doing sardine fast too, where I'm used to sitting down to a huge meal. Now, I am a taller person. I am also really active. So when I do sardine fast, I will frequently eat 2 cans at a time. I can do 2 cans. So I normally end up 6 to 7 cans per day. So 2 cans 3 times per day is my norm. And I'm here to tell you, even though it's not a huge portion of food, I am stuffed afterward.
Yeah. Well,
So satiating. You mentioned that you have had a little bit of pushback in the comments regarding the sardines. Same, me too. And what's so funny to me is it's mostly from carnivores who are
yeah.
like, why are people doing these gimmicks? And I'm like, You eat only beef and she's eating only fish. Both of these things are carnivore. She's Jane is still carnivore. She's eating meat. Somebody else says, well, I feel my best eating beef. Neither of these things are gimmick. We're just doing what needs to be done to feel our best. And
Yeah.
I want to support people who do lion diet or the people who say, I can eat like myself right now. I really can eat a wide variety, pork, fish, chicken, egg. I can even have egg whites at this point. I couldn't always. So I consider myself, wow, so much variety in my 100% meat diet. And so for other people who are also on elimination diets of their own to criticize your version of an elimination diet, I am hurt in your honor, frankly, because
Oh,
you're just doing what needs to be done to feel your best. And I'm proud of you.
if I could eat just beef, and because that's what I prefer to, beef and pork
Yes.
are my two, and have my inflammation remain low, then I would do it. But apparently, because of the aha moment of I have a volume addiction, I can't do that at this point in time in my life. So this was a viable option for me. It's sustainable. Granted, it does sound a little extreme. And maybe if I, as an outsider looking in, I would probably go, well, she's just probably trying to get, people to, trying to influence people. The only thing I would try to influence people with is that if you have pain and that, surgery is lurking, do whatever you can do to get your inflammation down. For me, it was sardines. It might be something else for somebody else, but you know, that to me is the message I want to get across, is that I'm using this as a tool so I don't have to go to the doctor.
Yes. If somebody's watching this and they're still eating a lot of carbs, you and I know would both agree, hey, look, cut out those seed oils, the sugar, even the
Yeah.
fruit, anything that's going to keep your glucose up, keep your inflammation up, keep you on that glucose roller coaster. Cut it out. Try eating only meat, eggs, a varied carnivore diet. You and I have both experienced some amazing benefits just doing that. And then I
Yes.
think the next takeaway would be, hey, if that's not enough for you, we've got options, right? There's super high fat carnivore. They're fat fasting. Some people get amazing healing from water fasting, which you and I maybe would have gotten as well, except we're not doing it. Y'all see that,
Oh,
internet?
I don't
Doing
like
it.
it, and
No,
it's like, and
no.
so someone else might say, well, I just rather water fast. Well,
Yes.
then
Do
you're going
it.
to get inflammation down with that as well.
That's right.
So,
It will also
so
work. I'm not arguing
yeah,
it either. It's not that
yeah,
fasting doesn't work. It's just also another issue is a lot of the very under eaters, which
yes,
wasn't you and it wasn't me, but I work with a lot of people who are eating 900 calories a day. Then if
yeah.
they want to fast to get rid of inflammation, we've got a real problem. It-
Yeah, and I would never recommend it to an undereater. And some of the people I've helped in Dr. Boz's classes is that we never recommend undereaters to start fasting because it just attributes more to their eating disorder, and you need to get healthy first. And I was already eating tons of food. I mean, I
Yes.
counted my calories one day. I was eating as much as you were, and I'm old, I'm way older. I could be your mother.
Maybe close.
Maybe, and that, I'm not as active as you, but I might have voracious appetite, or so I thought. And I really wasn't hungry. It was just the food addiction that
Yeah.
was telling me to eat. So,
Right. Once I switched to sardines, I realized, am I sardine hungry? No?
yeah, I ask
Oh,
myself that every day.
every day. Am I sardine hungry? So for me, yes, 6 cans per day. So 3 meals per day, I was sardine hungry, legitimately. And they tasted amazing and I enjoyed them. If at any other moment of the day you would ask me, hey, are you crispy bacon hungry? All the time, yes. Are you blocks of cheese hungry? Sausage queso dip hungry? All of the time, all of the yes, right? How
Yeah.
about, carnivore ice cream, creme brulees? It's all carnivore. I would always say yes to those, even chicken wings. But are you sardine hungry? Nope, I'm good.
The first group I was in with you, I remember we were talking about maybe not sardine hungry, but you were talking about a way that you can really identify true hunger
Yes.
versus, Are you just bored? And it was like when you eat the worst thing, like it was for me, it was sardines at that time that they tasted so good. I was really hungry and they tasted like, the best thing I've ever eaten. And that was a real big learning moment for me too, that understanding my own hunger cues that I tend to ignore a lot because I just like to eat. So, or my food addiction drives me to eat. I tell myself, I lie to myself, like, oh yeah, you're still hungry. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
And do I want to, my rule, number one rule is now sardines before coffee.
Okay.
I have to, because I enjoy my coffee. It's a little pleasure in the morning. So I have to have a can of sardines. And if I don't want to eat them, then I can't have coffee.
Oh, I like that. I make myself eat breakfast every morning as well. It's not always sardines sometimes.
Yeah.
But I have to eat my breakfast and take a walk before I get my coffee. Them's the rules just at my house, not for everybody.
I was like, no walkie, no coffee.
I like that. Yeah. People say, what's the science behind that? I'm like, the science is I want my coffee, so I take the walkie. That's the science. Hello. I mean, there is some science also about cortisol and how getting some morning sunlight and red light and movement and breakfast will help bring it down. And then you can get your coffee. The real science here is it's my little carrot on a stick that gets me to take the walk and eat my breakfast. All right. I think there's a lot that can be learned from you, Jane. I could sit and talk to you for a very long time. I think the main takeaways I want people to hear is do what needs to be done to feel good, to get rid of your pain. And that might just be go keto, right? For some people, they just go low carb, very low carb, keto. They feel amazing, get great results. It might be go carnivore. Yes, love it. Why don't you do that? Right? Why don't you just go carnivore? It's way more fun. And then once you've done that, you might need to do some additional things. It might be some red light therapy, working on your sleep hygiene, your relationship to light, circadian rhythm stuff. It might be that you need more fish and omega-3s in your life. You might need a whole lot more of them, right, Jane?
Yeah.
And whatever it takes, we just want you to do what needs to be done to get rid of your pain and your inflammation. Or if that's not your issue, to get rid of diabetes, or to improve your mental health, to improve your chances of not having Alzheimer's and dementia. Like Jane is what some would consider an extreme example of, hey, this is what I have to do. So I'm just going to woman up and do it. And
exactly.
I think it's awesome. I'm proud of you. Not everybody is going to have to take it that far. Mm-hmm. And if they do, I hope they will. And whatever it is, whether it's lion diet or cutting out dairy, it's the hard thing. But what's harder than that is not being able to walk on your shift at work, leaving in tears, struggling to stand up in the morning. You, 240 some pounds, me, 260 some pounds, having boils, costochondritis. Choose your hard. And Jane Crummett has chosen sardines for now. I would love to do a follow-up with you after you have started to reintroduce some foods. I know a lady who did a few weeks of sardines, and she reintroduced her foods at the exact calories and exact macros that her sardines were. She just made sure when she entered it to Carb Manager that it came out almost identical to what she was doing before. She did not regain the weight. She was able to start slowly adding carnivore foods back in. And I think you're going to be really successful. So thanks for sharing.
That's my goal.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story with us today, Jane. I'm proud.
You're welcome.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye. Hey, September 21st. Be there.
Oh, I'm going to be there. Charlotte, and you're going to be there. I'm so excited. Yes, it's going to be good. I'll put a link below if any of you want to be in Charlotte, North Carolina, and you do. We're going to have, there will be a bunch of food trucks, tons of carnivores.
And I'll bring sardines because I'm still doing the sardines.
Yeah, you are. You don't even need a food truck. You got your purse sardines. That's right. Your satchel sardines.
A new t-shirt.
Yeah, you do. Some satchel sardines. I'll be wearing my gear too, and we'll eat some meat together. Fish, beef, meat. All right, see you there.
All right, bye.